In January 1942, a self-defense instructor of the Women's Auxiliary Air Force demonstrated combat techniques to a group of women. Britain was at war and women were being trained to protect themselves. Nobody was waiting to be saved anymore. In 1946, the United States detonated an atomic bomb underwater at Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands. The blast sent a column of water and radioactive debris miles into the air. The people who lived on those islands had already been told to leave and never came back. In early 1945, an Allied truck passed an abandoned King Tiger tank on a road in Belgium. The tank had no visible damage. Germany's most feared armored vehicle was not destroyed by the enemy. It simply ran out of time. On January 30, 1947, a young and unknown Marilyn Monroe sat just one table away from King Saud of Saudi Arabia at a Fox Studio cafe in Los Angeles. Neither knew who the other was. Within a decade, the whole world would know her name. In 1941, Italian troops posed alongside a CR-42 biplane in North Africa. The CR-42 was already outdated by the time the war began, yet Italy still flew it in combat. Old machines and young men sent to fight a modern war. On March 27, 1915, Mary Mallon was arrested and returned to quarantine on North Brother Island in New York. She had spent 5 years in hiding while continuing to spread typhoid fever to others. She never believed she was sick. She died in quarantine 23 years later. On April 15, 1918, British soldiers manned a barricade in the town of Bailleul in France trying to stop the German advance. A few hours after this photo was taken, the town fell. They held the line as long as they could. It was not long enough. Around 1939, the Japanese Imperial Army organized local Chinese men into Baojia militias across northern China. These groups were meant to defend occupied territories, but their true purpose was to keep locals from joining the resistance. Neighbors were turned into instruments of their own occupation. In 1911, a 5-year-old child in Biloxi, Mississippi, had already finished a full day of work when photographer Lewis Hine found him. The boy was so tired he refused to be photographed. He was 5. Nobody asked if he wanted to work either. In May 1958, British tanks, trucks, and armored vehicles that fought in World War II sat piled in a Hamburg scrapyard, still waiting to be broken down. The war had ended 13 years earlier. The machines that won it were now just metal waiting to be forgotten. George Custer was 22 years old in this photograph and still had 14 years left before Little Bighorn. Pictured during the Peninsula Campaign in May 1862 with William Jones and Nicholas Bowen, a young officer who had no idea what history was quietly building around him. They had crossed oceans to liberate someone else's village. Indian soldiers of a scout car crew paused to talk with young civilians in San Felice, Italy in 1943, men from the subcontinent fighting under a British flag in a European war that was never really theirs. She called her Harley the key to the whole United States and then proved it. In 1929, Vivian Bales rode 5,000 miles across America in 78 days, becoming the country's first motorcycle cover girl at a time when women were still expected to stay considerably closer to home.